Okay, here is me going through pretty quickly the answers to each of the questions on the Chapter 2 practice quiz. You should pause, rewind, and you can also fast forward to get to the questions that you're most interested in. So, number 1, simplify. So, the first thing that I'm going to do on every problem is change subtraction to addition. I think it avoids a common mistake. Sometimes it's not essential, but sometimes it is, and so I always err on the side of just do it. So change this to plus the opposite. Now we can identify like terms. All my terms are covered. 5x plus 7x is 12x. 3 plus negative 8 is negative 5. So some variation of 12x plus negative 5 or 12x minus 5. Number 2, a much longer, more complicated looking problem. But again, first thing I'm going to do is, in order to simplify, change all subtraction to adding the opposite. So now I have all addition, which means that I can more easily rearrange things using the commutative property. And now I have a lot of terms, so I'm going to identify like terms. So I have my x squared term and another x squared term. I have a term with just an x in it, another term with just an x in it. I have my constant term, 3 of those, and then it's just this one guy sitting all by himself. Okay, so starting with the x squareds. 8 plus negative 5 is 3, so I have 3x squared. I will cross those out, so I know I'm done with them. I just have this 1, 2 plus 2xy, so I'll put that in there. I have a negative 3x and a 5x, so that adds up to 2x. And then all I'm left with is numbers. 5 plus 7 plus 2 is 14. Now you may have gotten this in a different order. I tried to go through and mark it correct if you got it right, but in a different order. So you can double check to make sure I did that. Number 3. Okay, this is one where it is actually very important to change subtraction to addition because we have the distributive property going on here. But before we distribute, we need to know what are we distributing, and what we're actually distributing, because there's a minus sign here, is we're distributing a negative 3. So multiplication has to come first, so I'm just going to copy this. And when we distribute the negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And then also negative 3 times 21, or times 7 is negative 21. And that's where some of you made a mistake. Now 5x plus negative 6x is negative x, or negative 1x. And then we have no other constants to add that to. So there's our final answer. Number 4, same thing here. You have a minus in front of a parentheses, so subtraction to addition is going to be important. This becomes plus a negative, and that negative is going to get distributed to each term inside there. And then we have plus a negative and plus a negative. Now identify our like terms. We have an x squared term and an x squared term. Oh wait, didn't distribute yet. Sorry. 3x squared plus 5x plus the negative gets multiplied by the 2x to become negative 2x and negative 5. Okay, now we can identify. We have our x squared terms. We have our terms with x in them. And then we have our constants. Everything's underlined, so it's all accounted for. 3x squared plus x squared is 4x squared. 5x plus negative 2x plus negative 2x is x. And then we have a negative 5 plus a negative 5, which is negative 10. All terms are accounted for, and our final answer has no like terms that we can combine, so that's how we know we're done. Okay, now the last four are solving of equations. This is the simplest one. We have no simplifying to do on each side of the equation. We just need to get x by itself. So step one is add 18 to both sides, and you're left with 7x equals 28. And now we divide both sides by 7. 28 divided by 7 is 4. Number 6. Okay, now we have a variable on both sides. First step is look at each side. Is each side already as simplified as it can get? And the answer is yes, because we have no terms that can be combined. I'm going to change subtraction to adding the opposite. And now we want to deal with our variable on both sides. You can get rid of either the negative 3x or the 2x. I'm going to get rid of the negative 3x, and I'm going to do that by adding a positive 3x. And I have to do that to both sides. So these go away by design. So I'm just left with 4 equals 5x plus negative 6. Now I'm down to the same problem I had before, which is just to get x by itself. Adding a negative 6, the opposite of that is adding a positive 6. Now I have 10 on that side equals 5x. Divide both sides by 5 to get x by itself. And we get x equals 2. Okay, now we have variables on both sides, and the left side, at least, is not yet simplified. The right side is. First step is I'm going to change this to plus the opposite, and now I'm going to work to simplify the left side. So first step is distributing. This becomes negative x, and this becomes, oops, I never changed that. Negative times negative 2 is a positive 2, so that becomes the opposite. And the right side is already simplified. Okay, now we combine terms on the left. 3x plus negative x is 2x plus 5. And now both sides are simplified, but the variable is on both sides, so we want to get rid of the variable on either side. I choose that. So we have 5 equals x plus 4. Get rid of the 4 by subtraction. And we have x equals 1. And the last question, we need to simplify both sides once again. So I'm going to change this to plus a negative, plus a negative. There's no multiplying to do, no distribution. So let's add those two together. And then on the other side, add those two together. So we have 1 plus 2x equals 3x plus negative 4. Take 2x away. You could have also taken 3x away, but I'd like to try and do it so I leave it with a positive when I can. So we have x plus negative 4 on that side and just 1 on this side. Add 4. And we get x equals 5. Hopefully I did these right and didn't make any mistakes. Once again, fix your answers on formative. You should have all green.